Phase 4, you guys are crushing it. Keep staying with me. We're gonna get through our final 2 phases here. Phase 4, max strength, right? Lifting heavy loads. May not be everyone's goal, right? Debatable based upon your coaching philosophies, debatable on whether or not every client needs to get to these phases 4 and 5, like max strength and power that we're gonna go through. But our real goal here, adaptation-wise, what we're trying to create is we're trying to increase force output, our ability to create as much force as possible 1, 2, 3 times. Not a lot, right? It's more about maximal force output. And when we look at that, right, how are we gonna go about creating that type of progression? Well, first off, as it makes sense, especially compared to, a lot of people get confused, the difference between like powerlifting, strength training, bodybuilding. There's definitely some crossover between, but we're not just here now focused on building larger muscles, although you may get a little bit of that effect. We're trying to increase how much weight are we lifting, all right? So increase in the overall loads that we're using, which you can see from our percentages. Also probably increase sets for a lot of people as well, right? If I'm gonna drop down to 3 to 4 repetitions, I might need to go from 3 sets to 4, 5, 6 sets to continue to drive, and that's gonna be a great way. And just like hypertrophy training, there are a lot of different methods of creating strength, everything from Jim Wendler's 5-3-1 program. There's a lot of great stuff out there, but overall our goal is going to be increasing loads and increasing sets. Then you don't see in here increased movement complexity. Generally, as we're trying to lift heavy loads, we need stable, for the most part, simpler movements. And I say simple, doesn't mean a squat and a deadlift is simple, but less variables, right? Less planes of motion. It's much harder to create true max strength with those things going on. Acute variables, reps 1 to 5. Again, you got a lot of leeway in there. Your general population clients, even like those that I train, I'm not usually personally going below 4 repetitions, but plenty of people, great value from training 1, 2, 3 reps, especially with exercises like deadlifts, getting people strong, picking things up off the floor. But reps 1 to 5, sets 4 to 6, some general guidance for you guys. Tempo here, all right? And you'll see it written in different ways. I'm gonna give you an exercise example. Right? I don't want to go super slow down in an exercise because that eccentric contraction is going to fatigue me if I'm trying to create more concentric force output. I still put 1 here because you still want it to be controlled. You want to have a controlled eccentric, and you're not going to really have any pause, right? There's not really going to be isometric at the bottom and maybe not really at the top, and you'll see X in there. When you see X on tempo, that means as fast as possible. With strength training, max strength training, it's not going to look fast, but in your brain and neurologically, you're trying to create as much force output as possible. So with that heavy weight, it may be 1 second, driving up against the load, all right? But whatever we're doing, we're trying to create as much force output on the way back up. And then loads, 85 to 100% 1 rep max. That's gonna vary based upon the person. And for a lot of people, again, just based upon the risk reward ratio with heavier lifting, you can get some pretty great strength gains even with like 90%. It's not an automatic that you have to be training at 100% of your 1 rep max, but if you do want to increase maximal strength, we are going to have to work with those heavier loads, and this is going to be a key variable if we want to get into our next phase of power, because both of these phases, 4 and 5, kind of get us back into neurological training, right? Here, it's not just adaptations of the muscles, but we're trying to get our motor units, right? The neurological piece that controls our muscle fibers to contract all of our muscles all at the same time and create as much force output as possible.